He didn't cry during the game. He held it together through the rest of the inning. Through the dugout. Through the final 4 innings that followed. Through the handshakes and the slow dispersal of a clubhouse returning to normal after a night that had not been entirely normal. He held it together until someone asked him about it. Then Dalton Rushing stopped. Looked down. And the composure he had been carrying for 3 hours quietly came apart. What Shohei Ohtani said to him on that field, immediately after the slide, in the 5 seconds before anyone else reached them, was not what anyone expected. It was not what the cameras captured. It was not what the broadcast explained or the box score reflected or the post-game notes summarized. It was something else entirely. And when Rushing finally repeated it, the U.S. media didn't quite know what to do with it. Neither did he. He is 24 years old. That fact matters more than it might seem. Dalton Rushing did not arrive in professional baseball through the easy door. He was drafted by the Dodgers in the 2nd round. He spent time in the minors building the kind of resume that gets noticed without getting celebrated. Quiet work. Consistent work. The work of a player who understands that nobody is watching yet and does it anyway. He is a catcher. Which means he has chosen the most physically demanding position on the field. The position that absorbs contact the way no other position does. The position that requires a specific combination of toughness and intelligence that the game filters for ruthlessly and without sentiment. He had made it to the Dodgers roster. That alone was the story he had been telling himself every morning. That alone was enough. And then came the 5th inning. The runner was moving from the moment the ball left the bat. Ground ball. Up the middle. The kind of play that turns into something dangerous when the footwork is slightly wrong and the timing is slightly off and 2 people are arriving at the same space from different directions with no time to negotiate. Rushing was doing his job. Moving to cover. Setting himself the way catchers are trained to set themselves. Positioning his body to make the play while protecting it from the collision that was almost certainly coming. The collision came. It came hard. The kind of contact that produces a sound distinct enough to reach the broadcast microphone from 50 feet away. The kind that makes both dugouts lean forward simultaneously. The kind that makes the umpire take 2 steps toward the play before the dust has even settled. Rushing went down. Not dramatically. Not in the way injuries get dramatized on highlight reels. He went down the way a man goes down when something has genuinely hurt him and his body makes the decision before his mind catches up. 1 knee on the ground. 1 hand down. Head slightly bowed. The runner was safe. For a moment, the field did what fields do in these moments. It paused. Players moved toward him. The umpire moved toward him. The Dodgers trainer was already on his way from the dugout. And then, before any of them reached him, someone else got there first. Shohei Ohtani. He came from the direction of the mound. Not running. Moving with the particular urgency of someone who has assessed the situation and is responding to it rather than reacting. His eyes were on Rushing the entire time. Not on the runner. Not on the umpire. On Rushing. He reached him before the trainer did. What happened in the next 5 seconds was not captured cleanly by any camera angle. The broadcast showed it from a distance. The in-stadium cameras caught the shape of it but not the detail. What existed in that space between Ohtani crouching down beside Rushing and the trainer arriving to take over was private in the way that only on-field moments between teammates can be private, even in a stadium of 40,000 people. Ohtani said something. Rushing heard it. And whatever it was, it stayed with him for the rest of the night in a way that the slide itself did not. The analysts called it a tough play. They talked about the mechanics of the collision. The positioning. Whether the slide was within the rules. Whether Rushing had set himself correctly. The clinical dissection of a physical moment that broadcasts perform because it fills time and sounds authoritative. They did not talk about what Ohtani said. They didn't know what Ohtani said. Nobody outside that 5-second window knew yet. The game continued. Rushing stayed in. That fact was noted and praised in the way broadcasters praise toughness. He finished the inning. He came back out for the 6th. He did his job. But something was sitting differently on him. Anyone watching closely enough could see it. Not in his performance. In the small moments between the performance. The way he sat in the dugout between innings. The way he looked at the field rather than the action happening on it. The expression of a young man turning something over in his mind repeatedly, examining it from different angles, unable to put it down. He was still turning it over when the game ended. The reporter found him near his locker. Not the main press area. The quieter edge of the clubhouse where the younger players tend to exist, slightly apart from the organized chaos of a post-game media session, present but not quite centered. Rushing was still in his uniform. He hadn't showered yet. He was sitting with his forearms on his knees and his eyes on the middle distance when the question came. The reporter asked about the slide. About the collision. About how he was feeling physically. He answered those questions the way young players answer physical questions. Fine. A little sore. Nothing serious. The vocabulary of toughness that baseball instills before it instills almost anything else. Then the reporter asked about Ohtani reaching him first. Rushing looked up. He looked back down. He was quiet for long enough that the reporter didn't fill the silence, which was the right instinct. Then Rushing said, "He said something to me." A pause. When he got there before everyone else. He said something. Another pause. Longer. I wasn't expecting it. His voice had changed by that point. Still controlled. But changed. The way a voice changes when the words it's forming are connected to something that hasn't finished processing yet. The reporter asked, "What did he say?" Rushing pressed his lips together. He looked at the ceiling briefly. Then back down. He said, "That was my fault." The room didn't erupt. This wasn't that kind of moment. It was quieter than that. More weight, less noise. The reporter understood immediately what those 3 words meant and what they cost and why they were sitting so heavily on a 24-year-old catcher who had just been told something by the best player in the world that he had not been prepared to hear. That was my fault. Not, "Are you okay?" Not, "Good play." Not, "Shake it off." That was my fault. Ohtani had been in the vicinity of the play. The positioning. The location of bodies on the field in the moment before contact. Whatever he had seen or felt or calculated in those split seconds before the collision told him something that he chose to say out loud rather than carry quietly. He said it to the young player on the ground before the trainer arrived. Before the cameras closed in. Before anyone else was in that space. He said it privately. Directly. Without performance. And it landed on Dalton Rushing like something that would take a long time to fully set down. Rushing stopped. Started again. He didn't have to say that. That's the thing. Nobody would have known. Nobody was looking at that. His voice dropped slightly. He knew. And he said it anyway. It moved fast. By the time the West Coast clubhouses had emptied, the clips were circulating. The transcript of Rushing's words. The reaction pieces. The takes that tried to fit the moment into a narrative already in progress. Some called it accountability. Some called it unnecessary, the kind of thing a superstar says that inadvertently places more weight on a young player rather than less. Some said it explained everything about why the Dodgers clubhouse functions the way it functions. The debate, if it could be called that, missed the center of the story by a significant distance. Because the debate was about Ohtani. The story was about Rushing. The reporter asked him one final question before the conversation ended. Did those words make it better or worse? Knowing that? Rushing thought about it for a genuine moment. Not performing consideration. Actually considering. Both, he said finally. He looked at his hands. Better because, he stopped. Because he saw me. You know? Not just the play. Me. A pause. Worse because now I have to figure out how to be worth that. He said it simply. Without drama. The way young players say true things when they haven't yet learned to protect themselves from the weight of saying them out loud. The reporter closed the notebook. Rushing sat with it a little longer. Somewhere across the clubhouse, Shohei Ohtani was answering questions about his performance. About pitch counts. About the upcoming series. About numbers and strategy and the mechanics of excellence. He did not mention the 5 seconds. He didn't need to. Dalton Rushing was still carrying them. He would be for a while.